Good evening, you're watching Awani Tonight with me, Soraya Mia. Malaysia is one of the lowest tax revenue collectors in Southeast Asia. This is showed by the country's tax to gross domestic product GDP ratio of 11.8%.
Malaysia University Science and Technology economist Professor Emeritus Dr. Barjoya Bardai said Malaysia fell behind Singapore and Thailand and is struggling to catch up. This is due to the other two countries using the Goods and Services GST and Value-Added VAT taxation system. According to him, Malaysia collected 40 billion ringgit using the GST. Now, however, he said that even with the Sales and Services Tax SST, we collect less than 30 billion ringgit and the revenue from the service sector is less than half. Meanwhile, PwC Malaysia Indirect Tax Leader Raja Kumaran shared similar views, noting that the government will not be able to expand its tax contribution to GDP if the tax system is not fully extended across the supply chain. Raja said the Finance Ministry had estimated an additional 3 billion ringgit in revenue next year by raising the SST rate to 8% from 6% effective March 1st, 2024. The new rate excludes services such as food and beverages, telecommunication, parking and logistics, but the scope of taxable services has been expanded to include brokerage, underwriting and karaoke. According to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim when presenting Budget 2024 last year. Raja also suggested that Malaysia tax health services, private education, rented commercial property and infrastructure to expand the scope of the tax, thereby widening its revenue. In total, the federal government has projected its revenue collection in 2024 to grow 1.5% to 307.6 billion ringgit, driven by a higher tax collection.
Meanwhile, Malaysia saw a 35% surge in Chinese tourist arrivals in December 2023 compared to the month before, following the implementation of the visa-free policy for Chinese visitors. Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Seri Tiong King Sing says this proves the success of the visa policy for both China and Malaysia.
Tiong said the inaugural Malaysia Airlines flight from Shenyang to Kuala Lumpur on December 1st and 2nd recorded a full capacity of 276 passengers. According to him, the good response showed that the visa liberalization program was pivotal in attracting tourists from China to the country. In November 2023, China said Malaysians were allowed to enter the country visa-free for up to 15 days. The move was reciprocated by Putrajaya in December, and the Foreign Ministry confirmed that Chinese nationals would be allowed to stay in Malaysia for up to 30 days without a visa. The Chinese embassy in Malaysia also said the visa-free policy for Malaysians would be effective for 1 year from December 1st, 2023.
Police have urged dash cam owners to come forward as witnesses to help with investigations into any accidents or road bully cases. Kemaman Police Chief Hanyan Ramlan said all dashcam owners will be able to assist authorities by acting as public informants to all enforcement agencies.
He added that the collaboration between authorities and the public would also ensure the smooth running of the Op Selamat 21 road safety campaign carried out in conjunction with Chinese New Year. Day 4 of Op Selamat 21 on Sunday recorded 14 deaths due to fatal accidents nationwide. According to the Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department, a total of 1,203 accident cases were recorded nationwide on the same day. The road safety campaign is being carried out across the country starting last Thursday until this Tuesday.
Indonesians go to the poll this Wednesday in the world's largest single-day election. In addition to the president, more than 205 million voters will choose members of parliament and local representatives. This year's election will mark Indonesia's first change of leadership in 10 years.
With people under 40 making up around half of all registered voters, economic issues, jobs, quality of life, corruption and institutional integrity are key issues.
Sebagai generasi muda, saya berharap yang pertama sih jiwanya jiwa muda, kedua yang bertanggung jawab, yang tegas lah dalam mengambil keputusan. Adil juga itu pasti, intinya sih supaya merata dari keadilan-keadilan itu.
Voters have a choice between 3 presidential candidates who are going to succeed the popular Joko Widodo, or better known as Jokowi. Leading the polls is Prabowo Subianto, the 72-year-old former military strongman and current defense minister. Together with Jokowi's 36-year-old son, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, as his running mate, Subianto has been outspoken about carrying on Jokowi's policies. Former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan has cast himself as the anti-establishment candidate in the presidential race. In recent weeks, Anies has gained momentum, especially among younger voters, and is campaigning on a platform of change. He has argued against Jokowi's costly relocation of the capital to Nusantara and warned against the return of nepotism. Ganjar Pranowo, the former governor of Central Java, has pushed his humble background in the political campaign. The 55-year-old is focusing on bread and butter issues, and like Prabowo, he is promising to carry on Jokowi's policies.
Suaranya dipecah, gitu kan, dari paslon 1, 2, 3 ini jadi pecah. Ada yang tadinya ke paslon ini, pindah ke ini, paslon ini pindah gini. Jadi lebih seru, lebih rame nih kayaknya nih, gitu. Karena suaranya lebih menyebar lagi ke 1, 2, 3 gitu.
The election is widely seen as a referendum on the legacy of Jokowi, who is stepping down after 2 terms in office. He remains hugely popular for turning Indonesia into one of Southeast Asia's biggest economic success stories. But critics say that while Jokowi has pushed through infrastructure and welfare programs, he has also presided over a backsliding on democratic norms. He's also been accused of trying to extend his influence into politics after he leaves office by leaning towards Prabowo during the campaign, who is himself a controversial figure due to past human rights abuses while in office.
Tapi yang menarik di pemilu sekarang ini adalah juga bagaimana incumbent itu ikut cukup dalam, ya, dalam hal mempengaruhi emosi sikap pemilih, terutama para loyalis atau supporters dari Pak Presiden, dari Pak Jokowi. Itu yang mempengaruhi juga terjadinya peralihan dukungan dari Pak Ganjar ke Pak Prabowo. Demokrasi kita tentu dalam ujian gitu ke depan, gitu ya. Dan tentu sebagai publik kita harus, dan masyarakat sipil lainnya, media massa segala macam, harus memberikan kontrol yang ketat, yang kuat, untuk memastikan demokrasi tetap menjadi pilihan dan prinsip-prinsip demokratis tetap terjadi gitu. Bila misalnya Pak Prabowo yang menang.
If no candidate wins outright in the first round this Wednesday, the top 2 candidates will go through to a second and final round on June 26.
Elevating Indonesia's economic growth should be one of the key priorities for the next Indonesian president. According to Executive Director of Next Policy Indonesia, Dr. Fitra Faisal Hastiadi, this is vital in the continuous efforts to lift Indonesia from the middle income trap.
So the main challenge for the 3 candidates is how to push Indonesia escape from middle income trap. So that is why 3 of the presidential candidates, they have the so-called growth target. So we have number 1, number 2, and number 3. They're actually quite the same in pushing the economy beyond 5% growth, because only if we have only 5% growth, it's actually not enough. We need more than that, at least 6%. So, but economic growth is, of course, is not becoming a sole target, because we need to grow together. So in that sense, we need to actually make how the economic growth is also inclusive and can create jobs, can be actually have some kind of wide coverage in terms of disparity elimination, and of course to eliminate poverty. So that's actually the main targets of the 3 candidates for Indonesia, presidential candidates. And we have also not only seeing it in the short term, of course they are running for this 5 years, one period, but this 5 years is very crucial, because the window of opportunity in achieving the golden period, Indonesia Emas 2045, 2045, is actually quite thin. We have only 10 margin. Window of opportunity is also very, very tight and limited. So in order to do so, this 5 years is becoming should be becoming a major foundation for the next 15 to 20 years.
Awani Tonight will go for a quick break. We'll be back with more.
Usaha membawa pulang wanita Sarawak yang terkandas di Filipina melibatkan implikasi undang-undang yang perlu diteliti. Jumlah mangsa ribut dan banjir di Pusat Pembinaan Sementara PPS di Sarawak kini hanya menempatkan 72 mangsa banjir.
Murid, guru dan anggota kumpulan pelaksana di semua institusi pendidikan hanya perlu memakai baju seragam untuk 2 hari seminggu, sementara 2 hari lagi pakaian sukan dan 1 hari lagi pakaian co-curriculum.
Welcome back. On to updates in Gaza. Over 100 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli air and sea attacks on Rafah overnight. The Israeli army conducted about 40 airstrikes which struck Rafah city in the early hours of Monday, with intensive ground shelling reported. Israel forces said it launched a special forces operation and airstrikes on Rafah that it claimed helped free 2 Israeli hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th. 8 agencies say an attack on Rafah would be catastrophic, as it is the last relatively safe place in Gaza that has been devastated by Israel's attack. U.S. President Joe Biden on Sunday urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu against a full-scale military operation in Rafah without a credible plan to ensure safety of the some 1 million people sheltering there. Netanyahu has brushed off growing international criticism of a planned ground invasion of Rafah, saying he would provide safe passage for civilians to leave. So far, however, Netanyahu has not specified where civilians could safely go. Over in Pakistan, 4 days after the hotly contested general elections, Pakistanis still do not know which party will form their next government. Despite former Prime Minister Imran Khan's detention and the many hurdles thrown at his Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or PTI party, independent candidates backed by PTI stunned observers by winning 93 seats, the most by any party. However, it is far short of the 169-seat simple majority required to form a government.
The Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz PMLN of another former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif finished second with 75 seats. He had the backing of the country's powerful military and was expected to sail to victory. The Pakistan People's Party came in third with 54 seats. As the wrangling continues, independent candidates who did not win have flooded the courts with allegations of vote rigging. PTI supporters have also staged protests outside Election Commission offices across the country. Pakistan's constitution stipulates that political parties must form a government by 29th February, 3 weeks after Election Day.
Finland's conservative former Prime Minister Alexander Stubb has won the country's presidential election, the first election since Finland joined the NATO military alliance. Stubb secured 51.6% of the vote in Sunday's elections, while his Green Party rival, Pekka Haavisto, had 48.4%.
Stubb, a member of Finland's National Coalition Party, is pro-European and a strong supporter of Ukraine. The 55-year-old has taken a tough stance on Russia, with which the Nordic nation shares a long land border. The vote marks a new era in Finland, which for decades elected presidents who promoted diplomacy, especially with neighboring Russia, and opted out of military alliances to ease tensions between Moscow and NATO. But the Finns changed their minds after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022 in a U-turn that led to the country joining NATO in April last year. Now, under the Western Alliance's security umbrella, Stubb will replace Sauli Niinistö, who is stepping down after 2 6-year terms.
Now that wraps up Awani Tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Soraya Mia and we'll see you again.